Hello everyone! Chef Jade here with another basic kitchen lesson. Taking proper care of our cooking tools is as important as cooking well. So, for today's lesson, I will teach you how to season a brand new cast iron skillet to achieve better results in our preparations, and it will conserve it longer. After following these steps, you can make some perfect sautéed vegetables or caramelized onions with your brand new seasoned iron skillet. Please let me see these beauties. Post on social media with the hashtag Jade's Cooking Tips. On to our step-by-step. Step 1. For today's tutorial, we will need a cast iron skillet, obviously. Step 2. Wash and dry the cast iron skillet. Try not to use a harsh cleaner. Step 3. Preheat your oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Step 4. Using a paper towel, drop some generous amount of oil and rub it all over, inside and outside, including the handle of your pan. Step 5. Set your pan inside the oven for at least 30 minutes. Step 6. Repeat Step 3 at least 3 more times. Important: be careful once taking your pan out of the oven. It will be very hot. After finishing this process, your daily cooking will also help to season your pan, especially if some oil and fat are involved. So don't worry about a next season process for at least a few years. Hi everyone, Chef Jade here. Today I'm going to teach you one of the most basic cooking skills there is: how to cut an onion. This is not just a tutorial for those who are new to cooking, but is great for anyone that has been cooking for years and not sure if they're cutting an onion the proper way. Well, don't worry, I'm here to help. Now sit back and check out these quick basic 10 steps. First, you want to start by choosing a fresh onion. It should be shiny, dry, and firm to the touch. Those are less likely to give you teary eyes. Now on to step 1. Open the windows to bring in some fresh air. This will push the onion fumes away and save us from crying our eyes out. Step 2. We only need 2 tools to properly cut an onion: a cutting board and a knife. To make sure our cutting board won't fly away during our preparations, let's set a wet paper towel under it. Now, our knife. Woo la la! The knife has to be sharp and in a good shape. That's essential because I could easily hurt myself or even others, like Zelda, by using a dull knife. Step 3. Properly holding your knife. You should hold it with your thumb and index finger in front of the bolster directly on the blade. I know at first it may be uncomfortable, but with some time it'll be easier. Step 4. As you can see, there are 2 ends, the stem and the roots. You should take the stem off and clean it a little bit by the roots by cutting the root stems away, but keeping the core intact. That's important. It'll keep our onion together while we chop it. Step 5. Peel the onion skin and keep the cut side down. Now let's make some vertical cuts from the core to the end. How closely you cut is how small you want your results. This time we are looking for medium dice. Another important note: you should angle your knife facing the center of the onion. That will deliver a perfect same size result. Step 6. Now it's time for our horizontal cut. Again, how closely you cut is how small you want your results. Step 7. Finally, cutting crosswise. In this step, you must pay special attention to how you're holding the knife to make sure you don't cut yourself. Your knuckles must press against the knife, and the knife will slowly slide against it. This way, you'll protect your hand and also bring some stability to your knife movement. The movement isn't about strength. If your knife is in great shape and sharp, forget about strength. It's all about keeping going with the rocking motion, going back and forth just like a wave. Step 8. Voila! That's our medium dice results. Step 9. Pat yourself on the back. You've just learned a basic cooking skill. Step 10. Take a picture and post it on social media with the hashtag Jade's Cooking Tips. Hello everyone. Chef Jade is here to teach you another easy cooking skill that goes with bread, quiches, and even salad: caramelized onions. As we all know, caramelization is the slow cooking process of the sugar that changes its flavor and color. Onions aren't sweet, but they can be. Check out our step-by-step to caramelizing onions. Let's set aside 3 onions, 2 tablespoons of butter, salt, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. For today's recipe, we need a cooking spoon, a knife, cutting board, and a large skillet. If you don't have one already, you might need a cast iron skillet for this. I do have a separate tutorial on how to season a cast iron skillet. so make sure to check it out. Choose 3 fresh onions, shining, dry, and firm to the touch, and cut them into juliennes. Note, similar size cuts are essential for even cooking and to avoid some onions burning instead of caramelizing. Read or watch our first tutorial, how to cut an onion, and follow our tips for perfect juliennes. 1. Heat your pan, and once it's warm, add 2 tablespoons of butter. 2. Once the butter is melted, we can add the onions with a pinch of salt and stir it up. Make sure the onions are spread evenly inside the pan. 3. We must be patient at this point. Leave the onions slowly cooking in medium to low heat for 8 to 10 minutes, and stir it up once in a while. 4. After 10 minutes, we can add some brown sugar to make this process faster, but it isn't a mandatory step. 5. Once the onions start to change color, we should lower the heat a little more and stir it up more often to avoid some onions burning. Important! At this point, even-cut juliennes are essential. If there are different sizes of onions, the thin ones could finish the caramelizing process before and probably get burned at the end of the whole set of onions. And we don't want that. 6. After another 10 minutes, our onions will be ready and sweet. Now tell me, what kind of snacks do you enjoy with some caramelized onions? My favorite is a nice piece of bread toasted with some hummus and caramelized onion. Let me know on social media with the hashtag Jade's Cooking Tips. Hello everyone, Chef Jade here. Today's lesson is about bringing some color and vitamins into our daily dishes. Let's prepare some sautéed vegetables, a perfect side dish for our lunches and dinners. For crispy and tender vegetables, we need to know their cooking time and respect that. Smart tip: if you want to sauté 4 different types of vegetables, we will start by cooking the hardest ones first and add later on the softest. This way, we will cook them based on their own cooking time. For today's recipe, we'll use onions, bell peppers, tomatoes, carrots, and broccoli. Now, on to our 6 steps. Step 1. For today's recipe, we will use a knife, a cutting board, a cooking spoon, and a medium skillet. If you have a cast iron skillet, that is perfect. Check out our tutorial to season your skillet for a better outcome. Step 2. Cut our vegetables as juliennes or other sizes you prefer. Step 3. Heat our pan, and once it is warm, add some butter and olive oil. Chef's tip: the combination of both fats is perfect since butter brings more flavor and the olive oil helps the butter extend its fusion point. In other words, the butter will take longer to burn, and we would love that. Step 4. Once the fat is melted, that's the perfect time to add some seasoning. For today's recipe, spicy paprika and black pepper are a great combination, and of course, add some salt. Step 5. Add the carrots and let them cook for at least 5 minutes before adding the bell peppers. Step 6. Mix them for a while and add the onions and the broccoli. Once it is almost done, we add the tomatoes. 2 final minutes and our sautéed vegetables are ready to go. Now tell me, what kind of vegetables are your favorite ones? Post a picture at social media with the results of a sautéed vegetables with the hashtag Jade's Cooking Tips, and let's make our feed colorful. Hi, Chef Jade here. Do you ever wonder why citrus fruits smell so good? Well, it's all about the zest. The precious skin of a lemon or an orange that contains all the aroma and flavor. Once we zest properly, we can use it in many recipes, like adding some aroma on top of a salad, to make a lemon cake by adding its zest to a white simple cake recipe, or even to transform the everyday chicken breast by adding some lemon zest in its marinade. The best way to get zest is by using a citrus zester. This tool makes sure we will only get the green/yellow part of the lemon. Important: we don't want to grate the white part of it. The white part contains all the bitterness, and we don't want this in our dishes. How to use a citrus zester. One hand holds the lemon and the other holds the citrus zester. You must move the lemon in one direction and the lemon zester in another in one movement only, rotating as you go. You'll end up with thin and small pieces. If you only have a regular cheese grater, be careful. You should make the same movement, but softly to make sure we won't get the white part. Especially using this tool, you shouldn't rotate the lemon back and forth. Once you do, you can grate the same spot twice or 3 times, and by doing this, it will probably get the bitter white part. For a bigger piece of zest, We must use a vegetable peeler and peel the lemon the same way we peel a potato. Once again, be careful to peel only the yellow/green part. I'm looking forward to seeing your recipes using lemon zest. Share on social media with hashtag Jade's Cooking Tips. Hello everyone, Chef Jade here. There's a lot of science even in simple recipes, and that couldn't be more true of salad dressing. A two-step recipe that is a good example of a great balance between acid and fat, two essential elements to make your dish a success. I love to learn classic recipes and how able to change them. So for today's lesson, we will learn the classic French vinaigrette sauce, and together we will think about how to develop different salad dressings. Two-step French vinaigrette sauce. Step 1. Put all ingredients together in a jar. 6 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of white wine vinegar, 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard, and some black pepper. Step 2. Shake it and it's all done. For other recipes, we should pay attention to the proportions of the most important ingredients. 3:1 olive oil and vinegar. Both ingredients add some level of acid and vinegar, way more than the olive oil, which brings more fat to our recipe. So if we want to create different flavors, we should respect this proportion of 3:1 fat to acid and play around with different ingredients and seasonings. Take a picture and post it on social media with the hashtag Jade's Cooking Tips and share your different kinds of salad dressing. Hello again to all you up-and-coming chefs. Today, we make a huge advancement in your cooking skills, and we'll be having some fun at the same time. Making pizza at home can be a great bonding moment for the whole family. Are you ready? Let's get all the ingredients first. As the professionals say, let's set our mise en place. For 3 medium pizzas, we will need 1 pound of white flour, 10 grams of instant dry yeast, 20 ml of olive oil, 1 tablespoon of sugar, 2 tablespoons of salt, 250 ml of water. Step by step. Step 1. For today's recipe, you will use a small bowl, tablespoon, and a mixer if you have. You'll also need some space for a delicious little mess. Step 2. In a small bowl, set the yeast, the sugar, and 2 tablespoons of warm water. Note: if you can touch the water with your fingers, that means it's a perfect temperature. If not, it's too hot for our hands and our yeast. In this process, we are feeding the yeast so that later on it can work and add some air to our dough. Step 3. It's volcano time. Set the flour on top of a balcony or near an open window and use your fingertips to make a hole for our wet ingredients. Think about the shape of a volcano when doing it. Step 4. Add the salt over the flour. Smart tip: salt kills yeast, don't place it close to each other. Step 5. Add the water to the hole and set 50 ml aside. Note: sometimes the dough asks for more or less water, so we should be prepared. Step 6. Add the olive oil in the middle and use your fingertips to mix it with the flour. Step 7. Finally, add the yeast mixture and mix everything using both hands. The dough must be dry enough to not stick to your hands. Step 8. If you have a mixer, you can knead the dough by using the hook. If not, well, let's do it by hand. Your dough must be like a ball, and you will open up, close it, turn around, and do it again. Repeat this process until we get an even dough. Step 9. Set the dough aside in a warm place. It's time for the yeast to work. Note: if it's too cold weather, you can turn your oven on for 5 to 10 minutes just to make it easier for the dough to grow. Step 10. Leave it there for at least 2 hours and let the yeast do its job. Step 11. After this period, the dough is ready for pizza time. Now tell me, what is your favorite topping for pizza? If you need some pizza topping ideas, head over to cookingwithjade.com and read my article about the great pizza topping debate. Then let me know what you chose by showing a picture of your pizza and using the hashtag Jade's Cooking Tips. Until next time, bon appetit! Hi everyone! Chef Jade here to bring you another cooking tutorial for a kitchen basic: peeling and chopping garlic. Since you already are an expert with the chef's knife due to our cutting onions tutorial, today we'll learn how to use it to peel and chop garlic. You may think cutting garlic would be the exact same for an onion, but you would be wrong. The trick to cutting garlic has to do with your process of removing the skin. It can be a real hassle. And being able to cut the cloves small enough so your final dish has garlic flavor but not garlic chunks. Now if I convinced you that this skill is necessary, which it is if you want to be an amateur Gordon Ramsay, then check out my step-by-step. Step 1. For today's recipe, we will need a knife, cutting board, a medium pan, and a cooking spoon. Step 2. Choose a fresh garlic head. Dry and firm to the touch is what you're looking for. Step 3. Place the garlic head with the roots upwards and use both of your hands to flatten the head and set the cloves aside. This will help crack the skin of the clove. Step 4. To peel each clove you must do the same movement, but instead of using your hands, you must use a knife to flatten every clove and break down the skin. Step 5. The skin must be loose by now, and you should peel it using your knife or your fingers easily. Step 6. After peeling every clove, let's chop it. Step 7. Cut every clove in half and again, use your knife to flatten them against our cutting table. Make some horizontal cuts and then some vertical ones, and remember how closely you cut is how small you want your results. Step 8. Repeat the previous step with every garlic clove, and you'll end up with some beautiful chopped garlic. Tip: you can peel and chop several cloves of garlic for all wheat preparations and store them in a small jar with some olive oil in the fridge. So, what dish do you plan on making with this garlic? Some homemade spaghetti sauce perhaps? Tell me on social media with the hashtag Jade's Cooking Tips. Hello everyone! Chef Jade here. Today we're going to talk about an everyday dish, rice. Cooking rice teaches us two crucial and simple skills that make our lives easier when cooking. Reading labels and proportions. We must always read the labels to understand the product we're cooking. In today's recipe, there are 3 crucial pieces of information needed in order to end up with a perfect dish. 1. How much rice do you want to cook? 2. How much water do we need? 3. How long will this rice cook? It can vary by the type of rice. All this information must be clear on the product label. Usually, we cook from 16 to 18 minutes and use twice the water for 1 measure of rice. That's the proportion. If we want to talk as a professional, you can say 2 to 1 water to rice ratio. Important! To make the proposition/ratio work, make sure you're using the same cup to measure all ingredients. Check out below our 8 steps for a bowl of perfect rice. For this recipe, you will need a medium pan, a colander, and a cooking spoon. Wash the rice using a colander until the water gets clear. We want to get rid of the dust. Read the label to make sure of the proportion of water to rice. Usually it's 2 to 1, water to rice. Bring water to boil in a medium pan. Set the lid on to make this process faster. Once it reaches boiling temperature, you should add some salt, oil, or butter and the rice. Remember, we should add these ingredients only after it begins to boil faster. Here's a tip: add some bay leaf for an extra flavor. Let it cook with the lid on for around 16 to 18 minutes. Easy tip: set your clock for 16 minutes and check if it's perfectly cooked by eating one. If there's leftover water, you should drain it out. For our last step, leave it there. Let the rice rest for a while with the lid on to make sure all the grains complete their cooking process. Rice is great as a side dish along with sautéed vegetables and some protein. It's a very balanced dish. Tell me your favorite main dish combination with some white rice, posting on social media with the hashtag Jade's Cooking Tips. Hi everyone, Chef Jade here. Many people can make some pasta, but do you know the ultimate tips to make sure our pasta cooks perfectly? If you checked out our cooking rice tutorial, you'll see that reading the label is also an important step in cooking pasta to be sure about the cooking time, since it can vary in the diverse kinds of pasta. Read below our 8 step-by-step for a perfect pasta. Step 1. For today's tutorial, we will use a large pan, a fork, or a cooking spoon. Step 2. Set a large pan of water to boil. Step 3. Once it reaches boiling temperature, add some salt and oil. Remember, if you add salt at step 1, it will take longer to boil, and we don't want that. Step 4. Add your pasta and stir it up. Smart tip: usually 100 gram per person should be enough. So if your package has 500 gram, you can share it in 5 per person. Step 5. Set your clock as per the information printed on the label. Once or twice, use a fork to stir the pasta. You don't want it to clump together. Step 6. Taste a bit to make sure it is cooked to your taste. Step 7. Drain the water using a colander. Note: does your recipe need cooking water? If yes, use a ladle to set it aside. Step 8. Finally, add some olive oil to make sure the pasta won't stick together. Now tell me, what is your favorite sauce to go along with pasta? Take a picture and post it on social media with the hashtag #JadesCookingTips.